There's a new study that came out about why more mileage makes you faster late in races. Most runners think of mileage as just as it makes you fit. But what if the real benefit of mileage isn't how fast you can run when you're fresh, but rather how well you can hold it together when you're tired? So a new study just confirmed something high-level coaches have known for decades. Higher cumulative mileage doesn't just improve your running economy, it protects it under fatigue. And that changes how you think about it. We should think about easy running, volume, durability, and long-term performance a little bit differently. If you're new to the channel, I'm Brant Stachel. I've got over 100 5-star reviews on Team Run by athletes like you that I coach every day. I've coached over 150 athletes to Boston qualifiers, and I've helped more than 25 athletes represent Canada. So why does this study even matter? Most running research that we see come out, and certainly the stuff that's been out in 2025 and early 2026, seems to be this polarized gap of like zone 1 or zone 2 or HIIT or this type or Norwegian or singles or it's so much out there. Most of those papers that I just mentioned that are talking about zone 1 or zone 2 or HIIT or different pieces, they look at research in a performance setting where it's a little bit different. They look at it when it's rested, fresh, tapered, or tested in isolation. But that's not how races work in real life. And this is oftentimes the disconnect you see between science researchers and applied coaches. Races aren't necessarily about what you can do rested or fresh or tapered or in isolation. They're about what you can do under fatigue, deterioration, trying to hold your form, staying efficient late, erratic pacing, fueling, environment. This study asked a better question. Can mileage help you stay efficient when you're tired? Put it differently, they're looking to see if it helps with durability. We can look at durability as something that separates good runners from consistent performers from athletes who actually close races well. So if you've never been able to close in the last couple miles, there's probably a couple questions that we could ask to answer that. Fueling, pacing, were you running into the wind, course selection, pace appropriate for the course. But I think one of the easiest things that we can control for is the volume we do in our build. The study that I've linked here looked at trained male runners. I'm aware it's only in male runners. I think from my experience, it carries over both to men and women. I'm reporting on the study. It would be great if there was more in women runners as well. But at the study, as it noted in its methods, only looked at trained male runners. So they asked, does higher lifetime and seasonal mileage improve a runner's ability to maintain running economy and perform under prolonged or fatiguing conditions? Not just speed, not just VO2 max, not just fresh performance or all the sexy things we see online today, but efficiency under fatigue. In short, can you stay economical when tired? You might be asking, why does this matter? Running economy isn't just about oxygen uptake at a given pace. It's about muscle recruitment, coordination, stiffness, elastic return, motor pattern, to name a few. Most runners don't slow down because they run out of fitness. They slow down because their economy degrades. So late in races, form slip, ground contact time increases, muscle firing becomes inefficient, cost per step goes up. That's a durability failure. So what did the research actually find? The headline result was that runners with higher cumulative mileage showed less deterioration in running economy during prolonged or fatiguing efforts. Let that sink in and think about that for a second. They didn't just run faster. They didn't just look better on paper. They stayed efficient longer and they resisted fatigue-related breakdown. And importantly, this applied to both lifetime mileage and recent seasonal mileage. I'll tell you a fun story about this. My wife and I, our PRs are separated by about 9 seconds in the marathon. We've both run 2:46. My build for the marathon averaged about 30 miles a week with cross training. My wife's build averaged about 110 to 115 miles a week of running. The difference between the two of us was I've been doing this for, at that time, 17 years training at a decently high level. So even though I wasn't running a lot, and even though I was nowhere near my lifetime best training, I was able to run a relatively good time compared to her, who was only 4 years into training and had to run more. You can look at this, and I look at this as a coach when I'm assessing seasonal mileage or lifetime mileage for athletes, and that's how we help guide the training process. That's how I look to seek to understand how well somebody's going to carry over a performance in training to a performance in racing. So when we look at this, we start to pull out the layers of the onion of what proper marathon training is. It's not just a 12-week hack. It's not just what did I accomplish in this build. It's looking back and going, what have I done over the last 5 months, 6 months, 8 months, 1 year? I remember my coach, one of the top coaches in Canada here, Steve, telling me when I was first getting into coaching with him that oftentimes the race result has nothing to do with what you've done the last 6 to 10 weeks. but rather what you've done with the last 6 to 12 months. And I find when I work with athletes, oftentimes while they do well in their first build, their second, third, and fourth builds, they nail them out of the park because we've built in consistency, we've built in intensity discipline, we've built in control, we've built in guardrails, we've gone up and up and up in each build in multiple different domains rather than just going from stock plan to stock plan to stock plan to stock plan. So this is where that individualization actually occurs. And this is what we found in the study. Those with more lifetime mileage and more seasonal mileage tended to perform better, or put a different way, get closer to matching up their performance to their training. I want to make a key distinction here because this is something I see we get confused on in the running world a little bit, is fitness versus durability. And so I've been guilty of this before, trying to understand the two. Fitness answers how fast can I run today? Durability answers how long can I hold it before things fall apart? So mileage, the best way to think of it, is the durability amplifier. You can get fit with intervals, thresholds, short blocks, speed blocks, sprinting, but you can only get durable with repeated exposure, consistent load, and time. And so mileage teaches your body how to absorb the force, how to recycle energy, how to resist breakdown. Now, the devil is in the details here. I want to be clear. This doesn't mean that my opinion for you is you should all go out there and start cranking 100-mile weeks. Getting durable teaches you how to absorb force, how to recycle energy, how to resist breakdown. It's from repeated exposure and constant load, and most importantly, time. What most new runners get wrong is they see that so-and-so ran this, or this plan says this, and they just go and go, well, I'm going to run that. Nobody cares, and it doesn't work to see what you can do the most for a week or 2 weeks. When we say time, we're talking about months to years. This is why even some of the best athletes in the world, if you look at the USA trials over the last couple of years for the marathon, in particular on the men's side, more men have qualified from a half marathon time than marathon time. And that's because oftentimes it takes years to develop the mileage, build up to the mileage, develop the durability, and develop the ability to take your under distance times from the 5K, 10K, and half marathon and convert them to the marathon. This is where the easy miles matter most. Easy miles don't look impressive. They don't spike metrics and they don't feel heroic. In fact, they're probably your least kudos run on Strava, but they reinforce so much that is important to success. They reinforce efficient mechanics. They build your tissue tolerance. They ingrain the economical patterns that you need to be successful. And when you repeat that thousands of times, because if you run your easy run slower, you should see my videos about easy runs where I explain how to actually do this. You can repeat it thousands of times. You can accumulate more training. You can decrease your injury risk, and therefore your body learns to hold form better under stress. This is why when you watch elite races, you see so many of them sprinting and closing races, and you watch marathoners. If you've watched any of the top marathons in the last couple of years, it seems like at the end of the race, these elite marathoners who have just sprinted for what seems like a mile or two, close races really well, look better than they did in the middle. And when they cross the line, they don't even look like they're gassed. These runners fade less, and the veterans tend to outperform the more fitter athletes late in races. So I want to take a second and think about this and explain it in terms of what we see in real world training. One of the parts that this study looked at was that high mileage athletes typically run slow most days. East Africans are famously known for starting absurdly slow. We call it the Kenyan shuffle. Marathoners in particular prioritize consistency over intensity. This is the big mistake here. I see a lot of runners go and they crank their 2, maybe 3 hard workouts. They're very, very long and they get their mileage up that way. In that domain, you're chasing fitness rather than protecting economy. To be clear, there is a balance to both of these things. I don't want to come off as the coach who says you only need to be in this zone, or we don't do high intensity, we only do low intensity, or any of these dogmatic type arguments. What we really want to do when we hone in on the research and we look at what elites are doing across different countries, different training groups, different generations, we start to understand that the mileage doesn't just make you faster, it makes your fast much cheaper and easier to accomplish. And that ability to do that and get that speed lasts longer. And this is why, if you think about training, we have a long base phase that lasts a long time, and we do a short sharpening phase that lasts a short time. Do the big things to get the big payoff. Now, I think it's also important to talk about what this study doesn't mean. It does not mean that everybody should jack mileage immediately. Please don't take this video and go,
Brant said I should be running a lot of mileage, and I saw his video with Thomas Knobs running, 130 miles a week, so that's what I have to do.
Take your mileage and appropriately look at it. Ask yourself, how am I going to be still training and competing to the best of my ability in 1, 2, 3, 4 years? That's the path to look for. It also doesn't mean that low volume runners can't succeed. I've seen plenty of great low volume runners who supplement with cross training. They run their easy runs maybe a little bit faster because of their fast twitch fibers. There's plenty of ways to get to the top, but there's ways that are more right. And this is what I'm trying to encourage. It also means that volume and intensity trade off. Mileage is a long-term investment and durability compounds slowly. You still need, as I said, smart progression, appropriate intensity, and context-based pacing on race day. Mileage works best when it's sustainable, repeatable, and boring enough to stick with. So you need a little bit of intensity in there to break up the monotony of it. If you're a runner listening to this, here's some practical takeaways. Prioritize consistency over perfect workouts. Don't rush your mileage, accumulate it. Think about how long can I do this for? Easy running is a skill. You should practice it. It's not just filler. Judge success by how you feel late, not early. Think in years, not weeks. Mileage doesn't reward impatience, it rewards respect. This study confirms what coaches have known for decades, and oftentimes we see this where the literature catches up to the applied in coaching. If you've liked this video, please subscribe. Check out my other videos on the training series about breaking down paces. I've done plenty of videos on easy runs, tempo runs, marathon pace runs, how to run your intervals, and I continue to put content out for runners like you so you can chase your best, and so you get to have all the experiences that I didn't have as a younger athlete, where hopefully you're training smarter, you're more autonomous, you're able to improve your performance and really enjoy this beautiful sport.